Hey guys, before we get started today, just a quick disclaimer. This information is presented for educational purposes only. I do not endorse the production, distribution, or use of malicious software in any way, shape, or form. I'm doing this under controlled conditions with a relatively benign MS-DOS virus. Some details have been knowingly withheld to prevent misuse, and any attempt to replicate this procedure is at your own risk. So with that out of the way, we're going to be looking at an old DOS virus today, specifically something referred to as a boot sector virus, which is a bit of a misnomer. They don't infect the boot sector per se, rather the master boot record. So before we get started, let's bring up the master boot record on this hard drive. We'll take a look and see what it should look like before the infection. So you see we've got a couple of text strings in there. Invalid partition table, error loading operating system, missing operating system. And that master boot record ends with the code 55AA. That all looks perfectly healthy. Yeah, we're going to change that. And just to be safe, I'm going to run a virus scan. We'll make sure there's no pre-existing infection. So let's load up fprot antivirus. Now I've set this to do a scan and only report. I don't want it to destroy any virus that it finds. And that looks good. No infection found on this hard drive. So we're going to be looking at a variant of the stoned virus from 1987. It's relatively benign. It simply overwrites the master boot record of the hard drive, installs its own code there, and copies the original MBR to another location on the drive. And on occasion, if you're lucky, on boot it'll actually print a message, "Your PC is now stoned." And that's exactly what we're hoping to see here today. So I've taken the original source code for this virus. I'm not going to tell you where I found it, of course. And I'm compiling that with the turbo assembler, running it through the linker, and then I'm going to convert it to a binary file. But the resulting binary file is only 440 bytes. To install it properly into a master boot record, it has to be 512 bytes. So I'm going to use the debug command. We'll pad that file with zeros, and then add that signature at the end, 55AA. The resulting 512-byte file will fit perfectly in the master boot record of the hard drive or in the boot sector of the floppy. So I'm going to format a floppy disk and install this virus. Now, to avoid any issues with YouTube and to prevent anyone from doing anything malicious, I'm not going to say exactly how I did that. But what I will do is run a quick virus check on that floppy after I've infected it. And yes, indeed, fprot indicates that that boot sector on the floppy is infected. Now I'm going to leave that floppy in the drive and try and boot from it. That's the way this type of virus would have spread back in the 1990s. It was always important to remove the floppy from the drive before you rebooted the computer. Otherwise, you ran the risk of getting a boot sector virus. And there we go. There's the message that I was hoping to see. Your PC is now stoned. So let's load up that hex editor once again, and we'll take a look at this master boot record. And there's the message right there. Your PC is stoned. Now, the good news is this type of virus is very easy to remove. You simply need to boot up from a clean boot disk and run an fdisk on the MBR. Some boot sector viruses would actually load into memory and detect if you tried to overwrite the master boot record. If you did, they would simply redirect you to the copy that they had made. That's why you need to boot from a clean boot disk. So, ethical considerations aside, you have to admit boot sector viruses really are pretty cool. We're talking about a 512 byte space, and they were able to write something that fits into that space and replicates itself. As a technological achievement, I have to admit I find that very impressive. So if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below, and as always, thanks for watching.